Thank you so much for those kind words of introduction. I'm afraid that the introduction, so kind, so wonderful, so meaningful, is going to be much longer than what I have to say this morning. But thank you. President Rose, distinguished members of the administration, faculty, parents, family, and friends, and to the class of 2014, I'm delighted and very pleased to be with you on this important occasion. To each and every one of you who are receiving a diploma today, congratulations. I'm going to be very brief because today is your day and you should enjoy it. This day is all about you. I must tell you from where I am standing that you look good. You look beautiful, handsome, and very colorful. You know, you heard in the introduction that I didn't grow up in a big city like New York, or Atlanta, or Chicago, or Los Angeles. You heard that I grew up in rural Alabama on a farm. That is true. It is true that my father was a sharecropper, a tenant farmer. I tell you, on this farm, we raised a lot of cotton and corn, peanuts, hogs, cows, and chickens. Now, if you come to my congressional office in Washington, D.C., or happen to be in downtown Atlanta and visit my office there, the moment you walk through the door, the staff will offer you maybe a bottle of water, maybe some orange juice, maybe any Coca-Cola product, because Atlanta happened to be the home of the Coca-Cola Company, and Coca-Cola provide all members of the Georgia Congressional Delegation with an adequate supply of Coca-Cola products. So your red will go very well with the Coca-Cola product. The next thing the staff will offer you will be some peanuts. In the state of Georgia, like in the state of Alabama, we raise a lot of peanuts. Now, don't tell the Georgia peanut people, I don't eat too many of those peanuts. I ate so many peanuts when I was growing up in rural Alabama, I just don't want to see any more peanuts. Sometime I get on a flight flying from Atlanta to Washington or Washington back to Atlanta. The flight attendant tried to give me some peanuts. And I said, no, thank you. I don't care for any peanuts. But also on this farm, as I said before, we raise a lot of chicken. I know you're very smart. I know you're gifted. I know your talent. I know you received a very good education. I know you know all about the arts, but you don't know anything about raising chickens. So don't try it on me. Don't fool me. Let me tell you what I had to do as a young boy. I had to take the fresh eggs, mark them with a pencil, place them under the setting hen, and wait for 3 long weeks for the little chicks to hatch. Some of you may be saying, now, John Lewis, why do you mark those fresh eggs with a pencil before you place them under the setting hen? Well, from time to time, another hen would get on that same nest, and there would be some more eggs. And you had to be able to tell the fresh eggs from the eggs that were already under the setting hen. Do you follow me? You don't follow me. It's okay. It's all right. When these little chicks will hatch, I would fool these setting hens. I would cheat on these setting hens. I would take these little chicks and give them to another hen or put them in a box with a lantern, raise them on their own, get some more fresh eggs, mark them with a pencil, place them under the setting hen, And Kurt was sitting here in the student nest for another 3 weeks. I kept on fooling and cheating on these sitting hands. And when I look back, it was not the right thing to do. It was not the moral thing to do. It was not the most loving thing to do, the most nonviolent thing to do. It's not the most democratic thing to do. But I was never quite able to save $18.98 to order the most inexpensive incubator or hatchet from the Citizen Roebuck store. And as young people, as students, most of you are too young to remember the Citizen Roebuck catalog. Any of you remember? No, you don't. It's a big book. It's a heavy book. Some people call it the ordering book. I wish I had this. I wish I had that. So I just kept on wishing. But as a little boy, about 8, 9, 10 years old, I became very good in raising chickens. I wanted to be a minister. So from time to time, with the help of my brothers and sisters and cousins, we would gather all of our chickens together in the chicken yard. And my brothers and sisters and cousins would line the outside but around the chicken yard. But they would gather like you would gather here. And I would start speaking or preaching. And when I look back on it, some of these chickens would bow their heads. Some of these chickens would shake their heads. They never quite said amen. But I'm convinced that the great majority of those chickens that I preached to during the 40s and the 50s tended to listen to me much better than some of my colleagues listen to me today in the Congress. And some of those chickens were just a little more productive. At least they produce eggs. Well, that's enough of that story. When we visit the little town of Troy, visit Montgomery, visit Tuskegee, visit Birmingham, I saw those signs that said white men, white women, colored women, white waiting, colored waiting. And I would come home and ask my mother, ask my father, my grandparents, my great-grandparents, why? They would say to me, that's the way it is. Don't get in the way. Don't get in trouble. But reading books, looking at drawings and paintings, hearing the words of Martin Luther King Jr. on the old radio, hearing about Rosa Parks, I was deeply inspired to find a way to get in the way. And I got in trouble. Good trouble, necessary trouble. So I come here today to say, yes, congratulations. But I also come here to say to you, to use your training. Use the pen. Use the pencil. Use the camera. Use your learning to go out and find a way to get in good trouble, necessary trouble, to make our world a better world. You can do it. As young, talented, smart men and women who have learned so much, you have a moral obligation. You have a mission. You have a mandate to get out and disturb the order of things and inspire another generation of people to stand up and say we all can be a little more human. Don't be afraid. Be courageous. Be bold. Speak up. Speak out. Stand up. And help turn our nation upside down to set it right side up. You can do it. Now, if you come and visit my office in Washington or in Atlanta, you'll see works of art. I love the drawings, the paintings, the photographs. I love it all. And I must tell you, I am very blessed to be here for many reasons. But a graduate For this great school, a fellow graduate by the name of Nate Powell, who is here today in the audience, is an illustrator along with my co-writer, Andrew Iden, of a little book called Marge. It's a graphic novel. And Nate, if you're here, and Andrew, you're here someplace, why don't you stand? I know this is unusual, out of the ordinary, but Nate is the winner of several awards. He's standing back there in the back, and Andrew back there. And the next book that we write, we have book 1, book 2, book 3 of March, but maybe one of you want to take a little ride with me in the next story and be the illustrator. We all have stories to tell, and we must tell it, and tell it well. You heard in the introduction that when I was very young, I met Martin Luther King Jr. and Rosa Parks, that I got involved in the sit-ins, the Freedom Ride. But your own president, President Rose, came to Montgomery, came to Alabama in March of 1965 and marched with us in Montgomery. Thank you, Mr. President, for coming. Thank you for coming. Thank you for being there. Thank you. He was only a student. You're young. You have the time. You have the training. You too can make a contribution. Don't be silent. Move your feet. Move your hands. Make your voices be heard. We live in a country right now where 12 million people are living in the shadow. That's not right. That's not fair. And it's not just. And as young artists, you can help bring about comprehensive immigration reform where no one is left out or left behind. We must do it, and we must do it on our own watch right now, not waiting until tomorrow. When I spoke at the March on Washington on August 28, 1963, I said in that speech, I said, you tell us to wait. You tell us to be patient. We cannot wait. We cannot be patient. We want our freedom, and we want it now. People all over the world are crying out to be free, crying out to be treated like human beings. So those of us who live on this little piece of real estate called America, we must do our part. We all are interconnected. Not one of us live alone. All of us were committed to the philosophy and the discipline of nonviolence. We wanted to create the beloved community that respects the dignity and the worth of every human being. For in the final analysis, we're one. One family, one people, one love. Dr. King said on one occasion, we must learn to live together as brothers and sisters, or we will perish as fools. Gandhi put it another way. It is nonviolence or non-existence. In your work, as you leave here, can you promote the way of peace, the way of love, the way of nonviolence, human rights, respecting the dignity of all humankind? And I said to you, never give up, never give in, never become bitter or hostile, and never hate. The way of love is a better way. During the 60s, as I said to some of you last evening, I was arrested 40 times, and 5 more times since I've been in the Congress. And I'm probably going to get arrested some more. But for me, it is a great honor to stand up for what I believe is right and just and fair. It's our calling. It is our mission. It is our obligation. So I said to you as I close, be kind, as you heard earlier. Be loving, and never lose hope. In a sense, the creation of the beloved community, a society at peace with itself, is all in the making, and you can help make it real. I must say, this year is an election year. I'm not going to tell you how to vote. But one thing I'm going to tell you, you must vote. You must go out there and vote like you never voted before. Really, you have to do it. The vote is precious. It is almost sacred. It is the most powerful, nonviolent tool we have in a democratic society. And we must use it or we will lose it. There are forces trying to take us back to another period. And we have to say we're not going back. We've come too far. Too many people have died. 3 young men that I knew, 2 from New York City, Andy Goodman and Micah Schreiner, 50 years ago, this June 21st, these 2 young men, along with another young man by the name of James Shaney, went out to investigate the burning of an African-American church in Mississippi. They were arrested, jailed, turned over to the sheriff, but they were turned over to the Klan, beaten, shot, and killed. These 3 young men didn't die in Vietnam or the Middle East, or Eastern Europe, or in Africa, or Central or South America. They died right here in our own country. You cannot let their death be in vain. They said we're not going to turn out. Young people are not going to turn out. Minorities are not going to turn out. Prove them wrong. Vote for your future. Vote for people who are going to respect the artists. I have a bill in the Congress now, pending, saying that artists should be compensated for their work, appropriately compensated, when they make a contribution to a museum, to an institution. So get out there. Do it for yourself. Do it for your children. Do it for generation yet unborn. And peace be with you. Thank you very much.